me now.
Welcome back to my dark corner of this sick world.
You can see the possibilities for entertainment, huh?
Red Planet Mars is a real oddity amongst 1950s sci-fi, and it's difficult to review just the film because it's so ideological. But we're going to give it a try.
Do not allow yourselves to be emotionally disturbed by those messages.
We open by looking at the Martian canals.
And all going from north to south.
Except for those that aren't. But this is just preamble to the work of husband and wife scientists, the Cronins.
But do you seriously believe that you've established contact with Mars?
They do, but...
Sometimes my wife is less than enthusiastic about this project.
Really? I hadn't noticed.
It's like having a grandstand seat for the creation of the world.
Or it's death.
That's what you get for marrying the prophet Cassandra.
You'll be the next to advance science. And maybe us. Right into oblivion!
I love Mrs. Cronin, finding the dark side of everything.
For over 2,000 years, the symbol for war.
But I do wonder if this has had an effect on her children. This one has a head mounted on his bedpost. I mean, it's a doll's head, but that's still weird, right?
One of my grimmest memories.
The Cronins work out how to communicate with the Martians. Obviously a cause for celebration.
Linda, we've done it.
Dear Lord, don't make us sorry.
Love her. Possibly more than her condescending husband does.
Poor Linda with all her silly fears.
These messages are translated by a team of Pentagon code breakers. But when they are translated, 1/2 acre of land yields sufficient food to feed 1,000 Martians for 1 year. This could mean an end to famine. Everybody panic! Although, even in a crisis, this guy delivers a quality pun.
The future of the livestock industry is at stake.
Don't even get me started on energy.
The Martians have now announced that for the past 3 centuries, they haven't used coal, oil, electricity.
Now, I am definitely not an expert in global economics. Talk to my brother. But even putting aside the fact that the Martians might be this big and so not need that much food, I have to hope that just the idea of having sustainable food and energy for everyone would not cause the downfall of Western civilization.
This Cronin has done more to smash the democratic world in the last 4 weeks than the Russians have been able to do in 11 years.
Most 1950s sci-fi is subtly influenced by the Cold War. This one is less subtle.
We will build our new world on the ruins of the West.
The technology the Cronins are using was developed by a Nazi war criminal now working for the Soviets.
Are you talking to me?
And while the Cronins are the perfect 1950s family,
My diet's already taken care of.
Franz Calder gets drunker every time we see him.
Everlasting love!
He's monitoring the messages while the communists laugh at the fall of the West. But then...
7 lifetimes ago, you were told to love goodness and hate evil.
The Martians start quoting the Sermon on the Mount.
This one can't go out.
Why not?
Yeah, let's keep the message of peace to ourselves.
But don't talk nonsense, Linda.
Sadly, Mrs. Cronin now stops being a prophet of doom as the film skews from being overtly political to evangelically religious.
Now we're following the Star of Bethlehem.
Because the implication is not that Mars is lecturing us. The implication is that God is from Mars. This leads to instant world peace, with a polite nod to other religions.
For while to us the words from Mars seem the very essence of the Christian doctrine, let us not forget that they are also the essence of all other religions.
Except in Russia, where it leads to horrendous violence. Poorly shot, but still horrendous.
That will silence their hymns.
Then world peace.
The miracle of a nation finding its soul.
The communists were the only stumbling block. But then Calder drops a bombshell.
And there was I, alone, giving you answers.
You sent the messages. The whole thing was a fraud.
That's a pretty good twist. The Nazi Calder revenging himself on both the Russians and the Americans.
That's my God, Mrs. Cronin. Satan.
But there's another twist to come.
Chris,
What is it?
he did not send the religious messages.
I'm less impressed by this one.
It was the prophet talking to us.
It's not so much that God didn't reply for weeks and then suddenly did.
Today's message reads, "Ye have denied God's word and worshipped false gods. Thy torment is the price of thine own sin."
It's not so much that Calder is completely ignoring the activity we saw on Mars earlier.
And that in a week, these Martians have melted ice caps thousands of feet high and used the water to irrigate the planet?
It's that the messages arrived in a language Calder made up, and the Martians or God or whoever uses the same language because they wanted to be mistaken for a Nazi war criminal.
Shut up, you fool.
Now, it's very clear from reviews on IMDb that how you view this film depends on your politics and religious beliefs, and that's fine. How you view any film is dependent on your life experience.
Well, that's rubbish, Lynn.
But trying to focus on the film as a film, it's novel, even interesting, but not good. Thanks for watching. For more discussion of this film's unique aspects, join us on Patreon. What other sci-fi B-movies push the ideology a bit too hard? Let us know in the comments below and play nice.
Turn it off, I said.